Well, welcome to the Voice Summit. Happy to have you with us, LinkedIn. If you're watching live, thanks for your attention. And if you tune into the archive, glad that you found us. This is my friend, Jon Stine.
Good to see you, my friend.
It's always good to be with you. Whether it's digital or physical, we finally get to be together.
Indeed.
Yay for us. If you don't know Jon Stine, Executive Director at the Open Voice Network, and you have a demeanor that is so, I don't know, I've said it to you a number of ways. It's like you feel like a senator to me, a head of state. You feel like the uncle that I want to go ask advice from. You feel like the finance manager that I go, I listen to what you say and say, okay, Jon, I'll do what you say. You have just this commanding yet gracious presence about you.
Well,
so if you don't know Jon, that's what you can expect in interacting with him. If you don't know me, which would be silly because I've been doing these live streams for 2 days. My name is Ian Utile. I am the CEO and co-founder of attn.live. And Pete Erickson, who runs MoDev and the Voice Summit, he was kind to ask me to come and help co-produce some of the event for this year.
Well, Ian, you're very kind. It may be due to the color of my hair or the miles on my odometer. I just hope I'm not a crazy uncle. But no, thank you.
You're the best. You're the best kind of uncle. You've been incredibly encouraging to me. I talk about encouragement. The definition is to put courage in someone's soul. And I'll say, several times since I met you, you have said things to me directly, or you've said things in context of a community and a group that has put courage into my soul.
You're very kind, and it's one of the things I most admire about you, and here we are in a mutual admiration society, but from my side to you it's deserved, is your vision and your leadership on such topics as data sovereignty and the ownership of IP and where all this can go. And Ian, thank you for the leadership. Thank you for pushing us all, because you have pushed us. I will tell you, colleagues, there's times I've listened to Ian on podcasts and I sit down and say, well, my brain just broke because Ian's taking me in places I never thought I'd ever want to go or even know I could go. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Okay, we love each other, that's clear. Let's get to business. Okay, I want to talk about two things. There are two things that you're leading the charge on with Open Voice Networks. Let me set the stage with this. Last month, an event that I have been co-producing since we launched it, called NFT NYC, we unexpectedly exploded in size because of the environment around all things non-fungible tokens. The industry's grown from, nobody knows what it is to everybody in the world's talking about it. So we usually would have an event for one day, one location, a few hundred people. This year, we ended up having about 10,000 people come to Times Square. We sold 5,500 tickets. Tickets were selling for 5x ticket price people could get in the door. We had 128 events that happened on top of our event that we put on our website, because in the heart of decentralization and Web3, let's bring attention to everybody. Of course, a lot of talk is about celebrity, right? We had people like Quentin Tarantino and Gary Vaynerchuk opening our conference for us. So obviously there's some chitter chatter and energy around that. There's a lot of talk about money. People are buying NFTs and selling them for 10, 100, even 10,000x what they paid for them. So there's a financial element to it, and that's one of the reasons why there's a lot of energy. But if you really bake down the concerns that are talked about in the NFT, crypto, blockchain, Web3, metaverse environment, it comes down to the same two concerns that you and your colleagues have for the voice industry, and that is one, interoperability, and two, data ownership and the sovereignty of humans and their intellectual property. That's all bundled into one thing. So can you share your heart for the voice tech industry, first on interoperability, and then we'll bounce over to data ownership and whatnot?
I think for the voice industry, and it's something that you can look back, say, to the history of the internet. You can look back to the history of a number of technologies. But you can also look forward, and this is inspired, Ian, by you, by other thinkers. Professor Monica Lamb at Stanford, Monica, if you're watching, hello, has been the vision of a worldwide voice web. Because, and you mentioned it in your conversation with JP, earlier today, it's time, we are moving from what was a 19th century interface, fingers on screens, touching keyboards, 19th century,
Right.
in a sense, constricting us in our digital world. And if we look at not just the tens of thousands of skills and actions, but we look at the 200 million active websites, we look at the billions of connected points in smart environments, we look at all the destinations that are AI when the futurists tell us all AI will be conversational. Now we're looking at a worldwide voice-connected, AI-driven internet, a worldwide voice web. That's an extraordinary vision. That's in front of us. But the only way to get there is that if we talk with one another, if conversational agents, if voice interfaces share dialogue, data, context, controls, do the things that we're talking about at the Open Voice Network. Otherwise, we're constricted. We're just like stuck. We're just stuck.
Yeah.
And the vision that you have, of the ownership of your IP, and to be able to share that everywhere,
Right.
not just here or there, but everywhere, is going to be driven by interoperability. It's the core. It's the core of our future. It's not just a standards-based initiative. It is the core of our future and where we will reach a worldwide voice web that's in front of us.
Right.
It's our choice.
You and all of my friends in the Web3 world are fighting for the same thing, using the same language in different industries, but working with different people. And so I'd like you to touch on the advantages and what your perceived disadvantages are for your experience. And here's what I mean by that. When the Web3 world talks about interoperability, the need for the Ethereum blockchain and the Polygon blockchain and the Wax blockchain and the Cardano blockchain and the this and that blockchain to all work together, they're talking about decentralized, independent groups choosing to come together to all share the ability to mint and do things and exchange and those things. When we talk about data ownership, we're talking about taking the power away from centralized governments and corporations, and we're saying, let's all own our own data and let's come together and do this for the people, by the people. That's that world. Your world, instead, is working with the Global 2000. Your world is working with the Fortune 500. Your world is working with the largest corporations and the most slow-moving legal teams, and those that have everything to lose if they listen to your advice and do it wrong, and have limited things to gain if they're the only one to do it. And so you're in a completely different environment where you are saying the same stuff in a different industry to completely different people. What do you think are your advantages in working with the centralized world, and what do you perceive are disadvantages pertaining to what you're doing with Open Voice Network?
I think the advantages are the handful, on a percentage basis, who understand the value of, and let's call it the commons, the value of maintaining the commons to the benefit of all. The barriers, the hurdles, are those who think short term, who think that life is Game of Thrones, that ultimately there will be one winner, and there won't be.
Right.
And don't have a sense of the greater, and it's not just the greater community that we're all going to sing Kumbaya. It is the greater advantage when we build the commons,
Right.
because the market expands and the opportunities expand. It's seeing that and having that vision. And all too often, we as humans, our first reaction is, oh my God, I've got to protect my own. And my own is my thing in front of me, and that is a cash cow, or that's a revenue stream, or this or that. And I'm unwilling to think of the commons as it brings benefit to me. I'm not asking anyone to sing, roast marshmallows and sing Kumbaya.
Right.
We're talking about how can we build a much larger overall market? How can we build much more opportunity than existing in a neighborhood of walled gardens?
Right.
And so it takes time, Ian, as you know. It takes time, it takes persistence, it's not a month's journey, it's a year's journey, to communicate that and to get that across. But it's been done. Colleagues, it's been done.
So I'm going to give a final thought, then I'm going to ask you to share some individuals, either part of the Open Voice Network or your clients or your supporters, organizations would also be fine, that you honor and why you honor them. But before you answer that question, so take a moment to think about who you'd like to show some public respect for. Let me say this about the long-term thinking. Friends, most likely, every single one of you was at some point royalty in your lineage. Now, I know we don't care about royalty unless you're like JP over in England, loving the reality show of the Queen and her family. And there's more than just the reality show of it. There's something special about royalty, but in our environment, we don't deal with royalty. Nevertheless, if you're alive today in the 21st century, the likelihood that at some point there wasn't a head of state, a king, queen, prince, princess, duke, duchess in your background hundreds or thousands of years ago is pretty damn low. Okay. Your ancestors were different than you. Your ancestors did things thinking about a millennia from now. They did things thinking about centuries from now. They built castles that their children and grandchildren, great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren would have to suffer and bleed for and pay for and would never enjoy. For some reason, we have lost the art of sacrifice and of building things for the future. And that is my final thought on all that Jon and I are talking about, because it doesn't matter if your vision and if the dance that you're getting people to dance with you to this drum beat happens this year or this decade or this century, as long as we get there as humanity, it's about the end result and whatever it takes, and for us to be patient and for us to be willing to see the little 0.5% changes and the little 2-degree changes, because it takes time for things to shift. And so that's my final thought. I'd love for your final thought to be whatever it is you want to say. Plus, I'd love to hear a person or more, an organization or more that you really honor and why you honor them in your pursuit.
Let me just echo what you just said. Doing the right thing is not just today, but it is an ongoing journey. And what we in the Open Voice Network, we can congratulate ourselves and be arrogant in that, but we see that we are doing the right thing for the industry, for all of us who will communicate in the digital world, making this open. Let me add and end then with Ian's request, a shout out to so many people, but the Open Voice Network is about individuals who give of themselves, and to those of you, and you know who you are, who have been volunteering even the smallest amount of time, to those who are giving us hours every week, I shout you out. Thank you. To those of you who are sponsors of the Open Voice Network and considering sponsorship, I shout you out. Your encouragement, your criticism, and your guidance means the world. And thank you for being on this journey with us. And Ian, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jon, for joining me. Thank you for your attention. And I don't think I'll be back. I think I might be done in this chair. I might have a few other friends jump in and take advantage of the media studio, maybe not. But this is likely the last time that you'll see me sitting here, but I'd love for you to join me at 3:30 Eastern Time today. Over on the main stage, I think you can do that through the Wovia app. You can go to voicesummit.ai, register for free, and come tune in to my keynote live, because we're both going to find out what I'm going to talk about.
Good stuff, people. Good stuff.
I can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.